Imagine walking through a forest in East China. You find a small, deep pond. The locals say it's bottomless. They say it's full of fish that never end. It sounds like just another village legend. But in 1992, one man decided to check. He didn't find fish. He didn't find a natural spring. He found a door. And behind that water lay one of the most impossible engineering feats on planet Earth. Not a temple, not a tomb, but a massive inverted underground world carved out of solid siltstone. This is not a natural cave. This was built. It required the removal of 1 million cubic meters of rock. It required technology that shouldn't have existed when it was built. And the scariest part? In a country that has recorded its history more meticulously than any other civilization on Earth, there is not a single piece of paper mentioning it. No records, no blueprints, no emperor taking credit. How do you hide a mountain inside the Earth? Welcome to the Longyou Caves, the construction that simply shouldn't exist. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Let's go back to 1992. The village is Longyou in the Zhejiang province. A local villager named Wu Anai is curious. He's staring at these bottomless ponds. The ponds are perfectly square, deep, and the fish? Weirdly enough, people would catch fish there, but the water level never seemed to drop, no matter how dry the season was. Wu Anai gathers some neighbors. They buy a massive hydraulic pump, and they start pumping. They pump for 1 day, nothing. They pump for 10 days, the water level barely moves. They pump for 17 days straight. Finally, the water recedes enough to reveal not a muddy bottom, but a perfectly carved stone pillar, then another, then a flight of stairs. When the mud was finally cleared, they weren't looking at a pond. They were standing inside a massive man-made grotto, and then they found another one nearby, and another. To date, 24 of these massive underground halls have been discovered, and they are absolutely titanic. The average floor area of each cave is over 1,000 square meters. The ceilings reach up to 30 meters high. That's a 10-story building completely underground. But as archaeologists rushed to the site, the excitement quickly turned into confusion because nothing about these caves makes sense. Chapter 2. The math that doesn't add up. Let's look at the numbers, because this is where the primitive tool theory starts to fall apart. To create these caves, the builders had to remove roughly 1 million cubic meters of rock. Let's put that into perspective. If you assume an average laborer can dig and remove maybe 1 cubic meter of rock per day, this project would have required 1,000 men working day and night for 6 years straight. And that's just the digging. That doesn't account for the planning, the design, and the finishing touches. But here is the physical problem. When you dig a hole, you create a pile of dirt. Where is the rock? Usually near massive ancient sites like the pyramids or the Great Wall, we find the quarries, we find the debris fields. At Longyou, nothing. 1 million cubic meters of stone vanished. Did they use it to build a city nearby? No ancient city walls match this stone. Did they dump it in the river? No evidence of that. It's as if the rock was simply deleted. Chapter 3. The impossible precision. But the volume isn't the real mystery, it's the precision. When you enter the caves, you see the walls are not smooth. They are covered with uniform, chiseled lines, parallel marks, thousands upon thousands of them. Some historians say these are just tool marks, but look closer. The lines are uniform, they are rhythmic, they run from the floor to the ceiling in perfect angles. If these were just made by slaves hacking away at rock, the lines would be chaotic, messy. Instead, they look almost decorative or mechanical. And then there's the structural engineering. The caves are supported by massive pillars, but the walls between the caves are the real shock. Some of the walls separating these massive caverns are only 50 centimeters thick. That's about the width of your shoulders. Think about that. You're digging two massive caves separated by huge distances deep underground. You have no radar, you have no GPS, you have no modern surveying tools. How do you dig two parallel tunnels, keeping the wall between them perfectly straight and perfectly thin without accidentally breaking through? If they had made a mistake of just a few degrees, the wall would have collapsed, the ceiling would have come down. But they didn't collapse. The caves have been sitting there for at least 2,000 years. They survived floods, wars, and earthquakes, and the structural integrity is still perfect. How did they calculate this? Chapter 4. The lighting problem. There is another detail that keeps archaeologists awake at night. It's dark down there, pitch black. To carve these intricate patterns and maintain these perfect geometric angles, the workers needed light, lots of it. In the ancient world, light meant fire, torches, oil lamps. When we explore ancient tombs in Egypt or tunnels in Rome, we almost always find soot on the ceilings. The smoke has to go somewhere. In the Longyou Caves, there is no soot, no trace of fire, no smoke damage. How did they light a space 10 stories high, deep underground, well enough to carve precise engineering masterpieces without fire? Some theories suggest they used mirrors to reflect sunlight down, but the entrances are small and the caves are deep and winding. Mirrors lose light intensity with each reflection. By the time the light hit the bottom, it would be too dim to work by. Did they have a light source we don't know about, or were they using a technique that didn't require sight? Chapter 5. The Silence of History. Now let's talk about the biggest mystery of all, the silence. China has one of the longest continuous written histories in the world. We have records of grain taxes from 2,000 years ago. We know what the emperors ate for dinner in the Han Dynasty. We have records of the Great Wall construction, the Terracotta Army, and minor irrigation canals. A project of this size, moving 1 million cubic meters of rock, is a state-level operation. It requires an emperor's decree. It requires an army of workers. It requires feeding those workers. It is impossible to do this in secret. Yet, in all the vast libraries of Chinese history, there is not a single piece of paper mentioning it. No records, no blueprints, no emperor taking credit. How do you hide a mountain inside the earth? Chapter 6. What were they for? The quarry theory. Skeptics say it was just an ancient quarry. They wanted the stone. Why it fails? Why carve intricate patterns on the walls if you're just taking the rock and the opening is too small to easily haul massive stones out? It's an inefficient nightmare. The tomb theory. Was it for a dead emperor? Why it fails? No bodies, no sarcophagi, no grave goods, and unlike Chinese tombs, the layout is all wrong. The troop hideout. Was it to hide an army? Why it fails? It was flooded, and even if it wasn't, there's no ventilation. Thousands of soldiers would suffocate in hours. Then there are the more interesting theories. The ancient text, the Shan Hai Jing, speaks of vast underground networks. Could this be related? Some engineers have pointed out that the patterns on the walls resemble acoustic damping. Were these caves designed for sound or resonance? Or, looking at the layout from above, some claim the positioning of the caves mirrors the constellations, specifically the Big Dipper. Conclusion. Today, the Longyou Caves sit silent. We have drained the water, we have set up the lights, and tourists walk through the halls. But despite all our modern technology, we are no closer to the answer than Wu and I was when he first turned on that pump in 1992. We stand inside a structure that defies logic. We touch walls carved by people who left no name. We walk through a space that, according to history, should not be there. It forces us to ask the question we ask so often on this channel: how much of human history is missing, and what else is waiting just beneath our feet? What do you think the Longyou Caves were used for? Was it ancient technology, a lost bunker, or something else entirely? Let me know your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed this mystery, make sure to like and subscribe to Era by Era. We are digging up the past, one mystery at a time. See you in the next one.